Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And a few days ago, Crim6 called out certain shameless pros just here for the salary and the contract, not necessarily here to be the best teammate they can possibly be. X has now doubled down on this and said that Methodz potentially fits that mold, saying that he doesn't want to break any friendships and wants to maintain his relationships with everyone rather than actually giving his real opinion. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you are new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that one. Some crazy stuff today actually. Firstly, on Modern Warfare 2 coming out soon. Of course, kind of alongside when the 2022 World Cup is. Apparently they're getting Pogba, Neymar, and maybe even Messi. I don't know if I actually saw Messi or whether I'm just faded about that. But apparently there were like three, obviously, massive names in football that are going to be involved in this for some reason with the launch. So this is kind of crazy, to be honest, if they're actually getting this involved during the game. But definitely stay tuned for that one. Kind of in coalition with the World Cup, I suppose, because there's been a lot of marketing budget spent by Activision to make sure this game does well, because last year's game, maybe not so much. Now, we heard the rumors, we even talked about it last night. What is the possibility of Advanced Warfare 2 coming out in 2025? And if it does, then what does it mean for Treyarch's game? Because we know full well we're going to have a 2-year cycle here for Modern Warfare 2. Then Treyarch's game comes out in 2024. Look, I'm really hoping that as time progresses, Treyarch doesn't get corrupted to some degree by Activision Blizzard. I know that probably every single Treyarch game will be closer and closer to like the Infinity Ward style of, really favoring the casuals as they like to do nowadays. But Treyarch in general has been the best games from a competitive perspective, and hopefully they actually get a 2-year cycle, because if we have to suffer under a 2-year cycle of Modern Warfare 2 and then only get 1 year of the Treyarch game, that's going to be unfortunate. Now, in fairness, that was the rumor, because Advanced Warfare 2, Sledgehammer's next game, is meant to be 2025. So, and if this is 2024 lasting for 2 years, then surely Advanced Warfare 2 can't be 2025, unless it's actually like a remastered Advanced Warfare that comes out in kind of alongside the second year of the game. I don't really know what they're going to try and do, but it's a long way in the future. But apparently Treyarch have had the budgets approved for a 2-year life cycle on their next installment of Activision Blizzard's 3-year budget cycle. Activision are hedging their bets on Modern Warfare 2 doing well financially as the infrastructure of COD 2.0, whatever they're trying to say here. And apparently this has been news for quite some time, and now Ghost of Hope has got this kind of confirmed. So pretty interesting really, because Ghost of Hope says he's got this confirmed and has known for quite some time that they are going to have a 2-year cycle on Treyarch's game in 2024. But he also said that he definitely could confirm the rumors that that Advanced Warfare 2 was happening, but maybe not the year that it's going to happen. So I don't know. I would kind of like to see a world in which at least we do get 2 years of the Treyarch game, then we get maybe 2 years of the Advanced Warfare 2. I don't know. That's probably optimistic thinking. But a big update to mention for you guys nonetheless, because it's pretty important in terms of what the future is going to be here, whether Activision stick to the 2-year life cycle of games in the future, what that means, because we even saw back in the day and when Infinite Warfare came out, alongside Infinite Warfare they released Modern Warfare Remastered. I believe it wasn't that long ago now they released maybe the Modern Warfare 2 campaign remastered or something that they did. So they have got these ideas potentially in the back burner, but I think it would make sense to see more of that happen, especially now we get into 2-year cycles. So I suppose we'll just have to wait and see what happens on that front. This also from Pred, almost that time again, so the season honestly is not far away. The game comes out soon, there's going to be tourneys as soon as that happens, of course, and then shortly after that the season begins, and only early December this season, which is certainly a good sign. And fair play to Vegas, because we talked about them earlier today and some of the frustrations that many people have with how they've kind of run things the last couple of seasons. They actually are doing stuff. Can you believe it? Now, another thing to mention is that Clayster's bio, and maybe the other players as well, he has a new header in his bio, picture of Clayster, the Vegas Legion logo in his name. It's like, oh my god, they actually asked a graphic designer to make, and basically, I guess they actually have a graphic designer in-house, because it was a similar graphic to this, to actually make Clayster and the other guys a header. So, I mean, yeah, Vegas taking new leaps this season, but yeah, they've actually got a team to represent them in the 100k CDL Resurgence Fortunes Keep tourney, which I guess is coming up soon. And they've even used the hashtag level up thing here, which I don't know, it doesn't get to have the logo next to it, but I know some people were talking about this on Reddit ages ago, that okay, look, if they do become the Las Vegas Legion, they can use kind of hashtag level up, which is pretty good, to be honest. So, fair play. Vegas are taking steps. I do want to see them succeed this season, but unfortunately, it doesn't seem particularly likely to me they're going to be fighting tooth and nail to try and make it to the World Championship, I think, but hopefully they can prove us wrong to some degree. Now, let's talk about the flank. So it was kicking off last night. We talked earlier today about some of the discussions on where the teams went, where they maybe should have gone, but obviously a lot of people want to know who's going to be the worst team in the season for the upcoming year. Like, obviously, last couple of years, it's been Paris pretty much hands down. In fairness, in Cold War and even Modern Warfare, there were other teams that were terrible as well. But this season, to me, it's between 3 teams: London Royal Ravens, Vegas Legion, and the Florida Mutineers. Now, in my opinion, Florida are not going to be as bad as people think they're going to be. Yes, they don't have any real star talent on their team. It's Major Maniac, Vikil, Brack, and Havoc. But like, look, Havoc and Vikil potentially could make a good SMG duo. Vikil was a really top-rated player on the Ultra Academy North America, pretty much alongside Scrappy. He was arguably the most promising player on that team. He's got a spot now in this SMG role in kind of the more slaying position. So honestly, I think that could work rather well. Brack also is a player from back in the Black Ops 4 days, really talented flex AR player. And then Major Maniac is your main AR. He's always going to bring an awful lot in terms of leadership, and certainly in the search and destroy department. So I feel like this team, yes, it doesn't have any crazy big names, doesn't have any superstar talent potential, but I actually kind of like what they're trying to do here. And in fairness, at least they brought in a couple of players that can actually run SMGs, which is a good sign for Mutineers in general and their management and the decisions that they have made. So in my opinion, Mutineers aren't the hands down worst. Other people though have different opinions, and they say, look, they haven't really filled out this team with any type of talent that they're going to need to actually compete this season. And X was saying, look, these guys are terrible and they're going to be the bottom of the barrel team in the league this entire season pretty much. Now Methodz comes out and says that actually he feels that there is some potential in this team. Now you do see this with a fair few pros that go on the flank, right? Is that when pros go on the flank, they don't really want to talk trash on another team, even if Methodz does believe this team is terrible, which I don't believe he does, and I think he's got good reason not to, because I do think there's some potential here, especially in the search and destroy department. But you do see a lot of pros generally defending other teams' decisions and saying, you know what, it could work out, it could be a decent move, etc, etc. And maybe part of this is because, as X is going to suggest, it's effectively about saving your job and reputation. If you talk trash on another team, then get dropped from your team, and then all of a sudden it's about you know, you've got maybe team with Vikil or these guys to maintain your spot in the CDL for future seasons. You don't want to burn those bridges.
That's the kind of style that this team would incorporate, just that like weird different play. And yeah, I mean, I think a good team is going to read that like a book and catch on very quickly. So
I'm not going to say that they're like unreal, but like I think based on the game we're playing, having played like the beta and a little bit behind the scenes, this is a completely different game than the past few years, even different than MW 2019. Like the slide cancel is no longer really going to be a thing. So you have like an inherently slower game. You have a somewhat slower roster, and Colt Havoc is a rat, dude. So if you have like, if the game is played in a way where it's like corners and it's not just like face bash hills, I feel like you actually have like a decent team. I don't know much about Vikil. I heard he was like a top challenger, but if the game is slower, also Brack was actually gross in, what was it, Black Ops 4 on Gen G, I think it was?
Yeah, he was good.
Like Carson's really good at getting kills. Major's a good search player. I don't know. I would say Dark Horse team, obviously like they didn't stack their roster with FaZe level talent, but
he was on LG.
I think I think D's a little harsh. I'm thinking C.
I don't think there's a team. I don't think there's a single team you could put in D. Looking at the rosters.
Whoa,
holy Mike, dude.
If these guys are so good, Tony, how come you didn't pick any of them up?
I'm just happy to be here, man.
Oh, okay.
I'm happy to be on a roster. You understand?
Right.
I'm talking about Tony.
See, the problem, Tony, is I do understand that, and I think that's influencing your, you know, your reaction here, right? Like you're really happy to be on a roster. You want to be happy to be on a roster next year in case anything goes wrong. So you're trying to keep it even kill. And you're not being fully honest. And you're not being fully honest with your opinion here. I just don't think that you believe these guys are gonna be anything special this year.
I think C is fair. I'm not saying special, but I feel like they're like a good dark horse team.
Tony has a clear bias. Tony has a clear bias.
Oh, no, I don't. They didn't want me anyway. They didn't want me.
We'll get a chat poll. We'll get a chat poll. We'll hit it with the chat poll. Break it with a chat poll.
Because Tony has got a clear bias here. It's called career protection.
It really isn't, dude. Listen, I'll tell you right now. If they bench me, I'm beating the drums with Hitch, dude. I mean, if
So one of the terms that X uses there is career protection, right? And we kind of saw this implication not long ago now from from Crim6 in a video that he put out, where Crim was talking about the fact that some players in the league are not really here to be the best teammate and to actually win, but they're rather just here to kind of protect their contract and their spot in the league. You can't necessarily blame them. It's difficult enough right now as it is, and I'm sure for some of these pro players that maybe aren't on the biggest teams on the craziest contract, like it's pretty difficult to actually maintain the spot in general, let alone find yourself in a position to, get a consistent team for year after year. And of course, Methodz, I'm sure, is looking to some degree at his back, just because who knows what the season is going to hold for Methodz, because last year in Cold War, he was on a team in a similar situation when he then got dropped from the team for, of course, Insight came through, then he had to sit out for a while, comes back the next season on Boston, has a pretty good year all things considered, but now Beans, a kind of similarly hyped up European AR player, is on the bench for Boston for the upcoming season, and Methodz might be looking at his back thinking, you know what, is history going to repeat itself to a certain extent? So my perspective is that Methodz is actually kind of correct about Florida in that I think he understands that there is good potential in this roster, and it might not be absolutely awful, but I do also agree that there is an element of just pros in general, not necessarily just Methodz, but there are other pros that they really don't seem to want to give opinions on stuff, just because if they do, they potentially burn bridges down the line. And I think the pros realize that nowadays, especially with only 12 spots in the CDL, how difficult it is to actually maintain relationships over time, such that, well, they can't really, in their opinion, afford to risk it, just in case they need a spot with a Vickle or a Major Maniac or a Havoc or a Bragg or anything, and then those players are like, you know what, we don't want a team with you just because we heard you say this on the flank one time. And that's kind of the situation that Crim6 found himself in, where a lot of players, after he would burn bridges in various ways, would therefore not want to team with him going into the future. So Crim has kind of suffered some of the consequences for this, and I do feel like a lot of pro players nowadays aren't really willing to give their true opinions on certain teams because they think that it might cost them. Now, the pros that are more set in stone in their spots aren't really going to be afraid to do this. If you're on FaZe, if you're on OpTic, like, it doesn't really matter. You can give your opinion in somewhere. You're still going to be on a team because you're that caliber of player. But if you're on kind of one of the other teams, one of the lower half of the league teams in theory, you can't necessarily afford to start talking trash on people, even if you're not really talking trash, even if you're only just giving your personal opinion on that the team dynamic isn't going to work and this player isn't really suited for that role. People do take stuff personal that may come back to bite you down the line if your spot isn't quite as safe as you would like it to be. So definitely an interesting point there, right? Do you think Methodz is doing career protection? Do you think that, actually he has a fair point on Florida, that they could be better than some people expect? But it seems to me this is just a pretty common phenomenon around the league in general right now. So very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. This also real quick from OpTic Tactics, pick one, the rest are gone forever. This to me is an absolute no-brainer. It doesn't take any thinking at all to just say, yeah, I'll have Black Ops 2 and that'll be job done. In fairness, it could be difficult for some people just because I have played an awful lot of Black Ops 2 and I don't know if I've exactly outstayed the welcome to some degree on Black Ops 2, but I've pretty much done everything there is to do on that game. So look, I still really enjoy playing it from time to time. Even Plutonium last year on the PC was great fun. Advanced Warfare though would be good, but hey, look, if I can't play Advanced Warfare, I'm not missing it terribly. If it was between Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 3, that'd be harder. And Modern Warfare 2 for me, I played it very briefly, but not really. I was kind of somewhat before my time a little bit, so I can't really comment on that too much. I'm sure some of the OGs would, play Modern Warfare 2 an awful lot, but in fairness, there were a fair few things broken in the game. I watched a lot of gameplays of it back in the day, and there were certainly some frustrating elements of the game, we'll just say. And also to say this from Brian Stats, which COD organization has the most championships? Kind of crazy to me how far ahead OpTic are of everyone. You'd think that someone might be closer here, but OpTic in their history have 27 championship wins, FaZe have 12, Complexity have 11, of course Complexity only in COD for a brief period of time, but had the dominant team during Black Ops 2 and Ghost, Envy only at 10, and then it drops down to 5, 4 for 100 Thieves, of course 100T and LA Thieves, LG, Farico Impact, Splice or Ultra, kind of the same organization, EG, TKE United, and Florida Mutineers actually are technically on here with 3 in the new era. All of those were online, but still pretty interesting, right? So yeah, just to think about the fact that the OpTic organization, I'm guessing maybe Chicago Huntsman comes under the OpTic brand as well, or maybe he's not considered that. And I think he said in the reply here that Envy and OpTic both got credited with their kind of OpTic Texas win. So it's a bit difficult to keep track of this over time because I guess technically OpTic Texas are Envy and OpTic in a way, so a bit of a tricky one. But again, just to think how far OpTic are ahead of all the other teams here technically is kind of remarkable. And there aren't so many championships now as there used to be back in the day for any other organization to potentially catch up, but FaZe are doing their best shot. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit the like button and tell us the YouTube gods that's a good video, and I was like you should see it as well, and hope grow the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you as always, take care, and I'll see you next time.